the truth always comes out. So the saying goes. But what if the reality is more surprising, messed up, and horrible than anyone ever thought? We explore a story tonight that has the streets, social media, and rap game on fire. There is new evidence that is pointing fingers in unexpected ways. We are discussing Lou Lim, who was essential to King Von's untimely demise. Finally speaking out and purportedly disclosing information that even his closest associates deny. They had never heard it before. Supporters are already referring to it as the revelation that no one anticipated. According to some, it clears his name. Some claim it's evidence of treachery. In clubs, barbershops, and on Twitter at 3 a.m. The arguments are heated. Feelings are rushing. Von's legacy is at stake, and families are chatting behind closed doors. What actually took place that evening? Was it a cold-blooded setup, self-defense, or something darker, planned behind the scenes by those no one dared to blame? Lou Lim's recent allegations have reopened old wounds and ignited fresh rivalries. Stay tuned because this narrative will make you re-evaluate everything you believed to be true. Whispers in the streets were the beginning of it all. There were whispers simmering beneath the surface that nobody wanted to speak aloud, but that everyone knew existed. It wasn't during a formal news conference or a polished interview with attorneys by his side that Lou Lim chose to speak up. No, it came out in a raw, emotional, and untidy manner. That is precisely the type of energy that fans thrive on. Social media users shared a shaky phone video that appeared to have been taken in a poorly lit studio. Voices in the background could be heard, some anxious giggling, while others told him to relax. Lil Tim, however, didn't hold back. Leaning forward, he gazed into the camera and spoke the words that stopped time. You have no idea what actually transpired that evening. Von and I weren't alone. The strings were being pulled by other hands. Instantly, the internet took off. The clip went viral in a matter of minutes. Fans began analyzing every pause, glance, and whispered phrase in the background when blogs shared it. According to several, he appeared tormented, as if the truth were crushing him. Others asserted that it was merely another effort to steer the conversation. Even the harshest skeptics stopped scrolling, though, after he said anything. I was positioned. They forced me into a situation from which I was powerless. Van's folks were fully aware of what was about to happen. Van's fan following was rocked by those remarks. It was nearly unbearable to consider that Van's own group might have had some knowledge, or perhaps influenced the course of the night. Fans battled back and forth in chat rooms on Reddit and in days-long conversations on Twitter. While some thought LOL Tim was attempting to portray himself as the victim, others began making connections between ancient feuds, videos, and mysterious lyrics that seemed like confessions concealed in plain sight. An informant claiming to be connected to Van's family spoke anonymously to a little podcast in a corner of Atlanta. The emotion in their tone was evident despite the veiled nature of their speech. It's more than just Van versus Tim. It wasn't. Higher up, there were those who would benefit from Von's departure. And if Tim is speaking at last, it's because he fears that the same individuals may target him next. There was a lengthy silence before the podcast's host leaned in and demanded more, asking, "Are you claiming Von's own allies betrayed him?" The speaker then stated plainly, "I'm saying the game is dirtier than you'll think. Nobody is safe." That brief audio clip had been reposted thousands of times by the next morning. Betrayal, family conflicts, and covert goals were all over the headlines. Once unified in their grief, fans now felt split and unsure of whom to believe. Some even betrayed Von's closest friends, bombarding their comments with accusations and queries in an attempt to get answers. Asian Doll's name was brought up again amid the confusion. Fans brought out old tweets, old interviews, and instances where she alluded to Von's paranoia prior to his passing. Despite her distancing from the drama, suddenly those incidents were interpreted as premonitions rather than as sporadic sadness. He told me stories once. Her voice cracked when she talked in one of the resurfacing clips. However, I didn't want to accept it. The footage that was leaked showed Lou Lim continuing to speak. His tone became angrier and sharper. I was never meant to be the bad guy. I became the entire guy as a result. Consider who gained the most from Vaughn's absence. Who had all the attention and power all of a sudden? Social media echoed with those queries. Like wildfire, theories proliferate. Other fans laid the finger at competing rappers, some accused industry executives. And others even ventured to hint that not everyone in F was as devoted as they appeared to be. Tensions that had been simmering long before that terrible night were depicted by the reappearance of screenshots of previous Instagram lives, disputes, and subliminal posts. During the online controversy, Vaughn's sister Kayla B couldn't keep quiet. She erupted on Instagram Live, her voice trembling with rage. Don't trust any of that. Tim is telling lies. His goal is to change the course of history. It was my brother who put himself up. He didn't fear anyone, and he lived his life as he saw fit. Now, don't let these snakes change the narrative. Her life swiftly turned into a battlefield. The comments scrolled so quickly that they became blurry as thousands of viewers flooded in. Some urged her to simply speak the truth, while some defended her and others accused her of covering for others. With tears in her eyes, she abruptly ended the live stream by slamming her phone down in the middle of a sentence. Lil Durk's quiet, meanwhile, grew unbearable. Fans saw that he silently unfollowed a few people despite the fact that he made no posts or comments. That was an indication to them that he was separating himself from potential participants. Fans were forced to decipher every tiny move like investigators assembling a crime scene. While blogs created narratives and YouTube channels posted videos explaining Durk reaction. The most surprising development, however, is the appearance of a second videotape purportedly taken the same evening as Lil Tim's recording. Fans stated that the voice in the background, which was unclear, sounded like someone connected to F. The voice said, "Don't say too much." They are already watching. The conspiracy apparatus sprang into action. People started to question whether this fresh evidence was genuine, or if it was a well-planned performance intended to assign blame. The drama didn't end there, though. That evening, a prominent promoter from Atlanta tweeted something mysterious. Here's the real Von Bean story. You simply aren't prepared to accept it. Tim is telling the truth. The tweet was removed in a matter of minutes, but not before screenshots went viral. Van supporters felt their sorrow being torn apart once more as this all transpired. We never get peace. It's always another twist, another betrayal. A fan wrote on Twitter, comparing it to losing him all over again. Insiders whispered about a meeting that supposedly took place weeks before Vaughn's death, bringing together people from opposing camps. Some claimed Tim was present, while others denied it, and one rumor even implied Durk was aware of it but said nothing. There were also those who demanded justice, called for investigations, and vowed never to stream certain artists again. In one particularly dramatic moment, a former associate of Vaughn posted on Instagram stories, saying, "I know they're plotting, but we didn't move fast enough." The story disappeared within hours, but by then it had already been screen recorded, dissected, and transformed into another piece of the puzzle. None of it was confirmed, but it gained momentum, racing through the rap news channels and gossip blogs. As the smoke thickened, fans realized they were no longer just watching a case. They were living inside a soap opera, where loyalty, betrayal, and hidden motives collided. But was Lil Tim finally confessing to a larger plot, or was he just causing chaos to save his own name? And if there were really other hands involved, why now? Why speak up after so many years of silence? And just when everyone thought the dust had settled, a new voice was about to enter the conversation, one that would blow the internet up again. It wasn't a rapper, a promoter, or even one of the typical industry bloggers. Rather, it was a man claiming to be a former security guard, someone who supposedly worked the night of Vaughn's death. His voice note first appeared on Telegram groups, then spread to Twitter, and within hours, it was trending on all platforms. What the team said, it's true. The man mumbled, "I saw things that I wasn't supposed to see that night." The voice was unsteady and exhausted, like someone holding a secret too heavy to bear. Vaughn had the wrong kind of trust. That's what they got him into. He was unaware of the entire play. Fans were suddenly rushing after rejecting Tim's assertions. The entire story that everyone believed to be real had to be changed if even one of these facts was accurate. There were a lot of heated disputes on Twitter. Through their phones, fans are yelling at one another. "They set him up. I don't care what anyone says." "They set him up," cried one lady during the argument. "Nah, Tim's just trying to get sympathy. Vaughn was a real one, and he died like a real one." Give up twisting. Bigger names began to weigh in as the evening wore on. On Instagram, a producer who had previously collaborated with both Dirk and Vaughn wrote, "You'll think this industry is about loyalty. It's about survival. People play chess with lives out here." He took the post down a short while later, but the damage had already been done. In order to feed the rumors, supporters began naming names and sending screenshots, drawing innocent people into the fray. Kayla returned to the internet much more irate than before. She paced her room back and forth while she went live. "These jerks are lying about my brother's memories in an attempt to profit from his name. Tim isn't just spewing nonsense. Instead of hiding behind some phone footage, if you were sincere, you would pull up and speak to me directly." As she read the remarks that were streaming across her computer, her eyes burned. Additionally, the so-called insiders should be careful what they say to avoid hurting others. This is not a game. However, another surprise arrived from an entirely other direction while Kayla struggled to keep Vaughn's name safe. There were sealed witness testimonies related to Vaughn's case, according to a court document that was purportedly linked to Tim's new charges. Although names were not disclosed in the pages, the presence of sealed testimony rekindled the flames. Blogs made headlines like "Hidden Evidence Resurfaces in King Von Case" and "New Witnesses to Testify Against LOL Tim." Fans were unable to keep up. They thought Tim was lying one minute, and then they thought he was giving the whole truth the next. Analysis videos were all over YouTube, with thumbnails yelling terms like startling, exposed, and treachery, to give the impression that they had insiders leaking information. Some authors even arranged fictitious phone conversations. Whether it was true or not didn't matter. Anything might become viral because there was such a strong desire for answers. Despite everything, Dirk's quiet continued to be more powerful than words. His closest colleagues shared mysterious sayings about loyalty, trust, and snakes in the grass. Fans went crazy over a caption that said, "Sometimes family isn't blood. Sometimes blood isn't family." They thought it was a covert barb at Vaughn's circle, possibly even at Tim. The notion that Dirk was more knowledgeable but would not talk only served to fan the flames. When Asian Doll's previous text messages were released on Twitter, things took an unexpected turn. She allegedly warned a pal weeks prior to Va's death, according to screenshots. "He feels as though someone has retreated from him. He doesn't have faith in everyone." Those texts, whether authentic or fake, are explosive. Huss. See? Vaughn knew he felt it coming, fans said as they reposted them all over the place. Others wrote them off as Photoshop, another gimmick to create a dramatic effect. However, the distinction between fact and fiction became hazy once more. The matter became much more complicated when a prominent blogger from Chicago suggested that he had film from that night that was never shown to the public in a live session. "If Tim continues talking, I might just upload the video, even though they don't want me to. You guys aren't prepared for what's there," his supporters pleaded. For him to upload it, his conversation is exploding with remarks. Everyone was left in suspense as he smirked as he concluded the live stream. Word got around back in Atlanta that Tim wasn't the only one who released his video. There were rumors that he had been paid by a media corporation to have exclusive rights to his alleged confession. It was a money grab, according to some. Others asserted that it was a form of defense, a means of influencing the conversation before the streets did. In any case, the suspicion that this was planned merely deepened the distrust. There were camps among the fans. One faction thought that someone close to Vaughn had betrayed him. Tim was seen by some as fabricating smoke to cover up his own guilt. A third group said that Vaughn's silence was caused by the entire industry. The fan base had grown so splintered that hashtags like #TimTruth and #HornJustice for Vaughn trended side by side. And when it appeared that the drama could go no further, a surprise source revealed yet another thing. In an interview with a local Chicago news station, a family friend of Vaughn alluded to discussions that took place between Dirk and Vaughn in the days preceding the shooting but were never reported to the public. They discussed beef. They discussed their upcoming moves. A few things were not consistent. I believe there was tension that none of you are even aware of. Immediately, the video went viral. They slowed it down, cut it, and studied the man's body language. He was lying. Some people swore. According to others, he appeared afraid to have uttered such a thing. The focus was no longer solely on Tim. The focus had returned to Dirk, Vaughn's inner circle, and anybody who might have stood to benefit or lose that evening. And one terrifying question began to surface more and more as the streets continued to discuss. If Tim was being honest, then who was really in charge behind the scenes? The strain became unbearable. Online discussions evolved into clashes in person, including altercations at parties and clubs where Vaughn's music was played. People yelled at one another over who should be held responsible, who was innocent, and who was guilty. No one knew where the drama would go after it left the internet and returned to the streets. And just when everyone believed they had seen everything, a fresh voice came into the image. This time, it was someone who claimed to be Van's family, so it was even more significant. At first, the family's voice was subdued. A Facebook Live broadcast in the middle of the night that just managed to reach 100 watchers. It was Van's cousin, who had not been in the public eye until recently. The words were sharper than anything yet, even though the room was dark and their face was shadowed. I've remained silent for years. I believed that keeping quiet would protect us. So they whispered. However, if Tim is speaking now, I must speak as well. Days before he left, Vaughn informed me that he had the feeling that someone close to him was going to set him up. Although the live stream was brief, no more than 5 minutes it was sufficient. According to the cousin, there were discussions about money, loyalty, and treachery, and Vaughn had concerns about multiple people. He admitted to me that he didn't trust anyone, because if anything does happen, it won't be a random event. The words went viral on the internet. Within hours, the video garnered thousands of views when fans instantly copied it and published it online. Feelings were raging. Some fans exclaimed that Vaughn had known his fate and that this was the final piece of the jigsaw. Others accused the cousin of clout chasing, claiming that individuals frequently say things in retrospect and that sadness can distort recollections. Suited the story. The family's remarks, however, give the storm fresh life regardless of your point of view. With her patience obviously gone, Caleb got online once more. It is imperative that these so-called family members stop talking. Va wasn't even near why in that manner. You want to start telling stories years later? No, unless you were actually there, don't mention his name. She raged, pacing and slapping her hand against the wall in the middle of her tirade. Supporting her and accusing her of being defensive, fans flooded the comments section. Then there was yet another unexpected turn. Someone claiming to be Tim's cellmate spoke up in an exclusive interview that was released from behind bars. The words were very clear, but the voice was distorted and rough. He told me that saving himself was not the reason he pulled the trigger. He said that there was a member of Vaughn's crew who genuinely wanted it to crash. They exerted pressure. He simply responded to their exaggerated hype. He told me, however, that he was a pawn. The internet went crazy when he repeatedly said, "I'm the scapegoat. I'm the one they want you all to hate." If Tim was truly certain that he was a scapegoat, but who was the real culprit? Forums were inundated with theories from fans. Some claimed that Vaughn's burgeoning star was treading on toes and that it was just industry politics. Others vowed it was illegal activity, an unpaid debt, or a resentment that was coming back to punish. Every theory was broken down by YouTube channels, which posted hour-long analyses complete with dramatic music and red arrows flashing. A Chicago blogger, meanwhile, posted a voicemail he said was from a trustworthy source. It was implied in the audio message that opposing crews had met in secret a few days prior to the shooting. The speaker asserted that they sat at the same table, discussing peace while actually laying the groundwork. Van was unaware of the entire play. They were setting up the trap, but he believed it was about squashing beef. Theories became unmanageable. The court of popular opinion used screenshots of old text messages, grainy images, and sporadic lyrics as evidence. Fans became investigators, connecting dots that might or might not exist and painting red circles on screenshots. And one phrase reverberated throughout it all. Who benefited most from Van's absence? The moniker of Asian doll reappeared among the confusion. Her previous interviews in which she discussed Van's paranoia gained new significance. She remarked he felt like he was being watched later. Convinced that she had been warning the world all along, fans played the video over and over again. She remained silent despite the deluge of comments on social media that demanded answers, posting only vague statements about loyalty and treachery. Even outsiders in the industry started to weigh in as the drama intensified. The game is dirty. Ain't nobody clean. You're looking at the wrong people. Sometimes the enemy is right beside you smiling, declared a well-known DJ on Twitter. Fans took screenshots of the statement, analyzing who he might be referring to, but the DJ swiftly removed it. In a rare public statement back in Atlanta, Tim's attorney stated, "My client maintains he acted in self-defense, adding any claims beyond that are speculation. But we are reviewing new information that may change how the public sees this case." The statement was ambiguous, but the timing was explosive, and there was growing speculation that Tim might actually testify against others, which would completely upend the narrative. This possibility further polarized the internet. With some fans feeling vindicated, the streets buzzed louder than ever. Fights broke out in clubs where Vaughn's songs played. Arguments erupted over who was to blame. And one viral video showed two groups almost fighting outside a bar after someone yelled, "Tim told the truth. You're just blind." Others were ready to believe that Vaughn had been betrayed by those closest to him. And others were sick at the thought that the truth might never be fully revealed. That every new revelation was just another smokescreen. The energy was emotional, raw, and scary. A prominent Chicago journalist then hinted at something even more significant. Just when it appeared that the internet could take no more turns, if you thought this was about Vaughn, Tim, and that night, you're wrong. There are names you haven't even heard yet. He said in a late-night tweet that they were about to rock the business. Within minutes, the tweet was removed, but not before screenshots went viral. People wanted answers. Who were these names of mystery? What was the extent of the conspiracy? Fans sensed they were on the verge of yet another bombshell as daylight broke and the internet was on fire. The drama was intensifying rather than decreasing. And the most unexpected turn of events was yet to come. Because it wasn't simply Tim's confession or Vaughn's circle this time. It focused on influential people in the business and their alleged involvement in the incident that permanently altered the rap landscape. Overnight, the rumors regarding industry leaders were loud. Insider information of a meeting between executives, promoters, and individuals from Van's and Dirk's circles was purportedly available in a widely shared Twitter thread. These enigmatic individuals were charged in the threat of influencing events for financial gain and power rather than for personal grudges. Vaughn was too self-sufficient. According to one tweet, they cut his wings because he wanted to own too much. And the machine didn't like that. Thousands of responses flooded the comment section, with some people agreeing and others accusing the thread's author of fabrication. However, everyone read every word as if it were gospel. YouTube channels jumped on the bandwagon right away, posting films with names like Lou Lim was just a porn and was Vaughn sacrificed by the industry, under snippets of archival footage, interviews, and slowed-down scenes where Vaughn appeared uncomfortable or glanced over his shoulder. Dramatic music played. Even a phone call was staged by one creator who claimed it was a record executive confessing to everything. Despite knowing it was most likely a hoax, many continued to watch. Because in a world already rife with treachery, it seemed more plausible the more absurd it became. Tim's unsteady footage started to resemble a well-placed breadcrumb rather than a ramble as this story gained momentum. Supporters conjectured that he might be under duress to speak, possibly even intimidated. You'll think Tim is doing this on his own. Nah, someone is forcing him to move. He's afraid of something bigger. One anonymous account wrote. Though vague, the message reflected the paranoia that was sweeping across the fan base. Already worn out from protecting her brother's reputation, Kayla B. retaliated. She went harder than ever this time. Quit claiming that my brother was a porn star. Quit claiming that he was sacrificed. He was a man. He was genuine. He made his decisions. For hits, don't make his name into a conspiracy tale. Despite the sharpness of her comments, you could see the pain underneath them. Both love and contempt were shown in her comments by fans. She was commended by some for preserving Van's reputation. She was accused by others of concealing facts. However, Asian Doll chose to send admirers a mysterious tweet instead. Into a meltdown. They've just been introduced. You're simply running late. No more, no less. A firestorm was started by those 5 words. Who were they? What were they aware of? Was she implying that she had been told by Vaughn about plots against him? Images of the tweet's dissemination immediately, and theories became more outrageous every hour. A blogger purportedly uploaded audio of an executive discussing Vaughn's death, adding to the chaos of the storm. The voice was unidentifiable and the audio was muted, but the words were terrifying. There are instances when you must clip the head before it becomes too big. Fans loved it, whether it was true or not. Some claimed it was evidence of a conspiracy within the industry. Some referred to it as phony. However, the audio taper garnered millions of views in a matter of hours, igniting discussions that permeated mainstream media. Dirk remained silent. The loudest sound in the room was his quiet. His every move was scrutinized by fans. Which emojis he used in his captions, as well as who he followed and unfollowed. Loyalty is rare, he said as the caption for a picture he shared one day. The comments went wild. There was a lot of conjecture, including, is this about Vaughn? Is this about Tim? Who snaked who? The last twist then arrived, the kind of revelation that shocked even the most hardened devotees. Someone who was once a promoter who had previously scheduled Vaughn's performances came forward to say that Vaughn had received a warning not to play in Atlanta that week. During a radio interview, the promoter stated, "He told me he felt off." The host pushed him, saying, "He said something that doesn't feel right, but I can't back down. The streets are watching." The promoter groaned and said, "So, you're saying he knew what was coming, though he was unaware of the whole situation?" "I believe he was aware of the danger. He was entering a larger unlife scenario." Instantly, the audio tape went viral. Fans analyzed every second, sewed it into TikToks, and made it into memes. The notion that Vaughn was apprehensive gave the narrative an additional sorrowful dimension. It was impossible to distinguish fact from fiction at this point because the story had progressed so far. Was Tim used as a prop? Did Vaughn's own people betray him? Individuals. Behind closed doors was the industry pulling strings. Or was this whole mess a symptom of uncertainty and grief? It was evident that supporters were experiencing emotional turmoil. One faction cried out for justice, insisting that the truth be revealed at last. Another side, fed up with Vaughn's name being dragged through incessant controversy, pleaded for calm. And a third group flourished off the mayhem, consuming every fresh rumor, every new development, as though the narrative were an endless television show. Lol Tim's new findings had ultimately accomplished more than only igniting interest. It had shattered families, reignited wounds, and completely upended the hip-hop industry. The distinction between reality and fantasy became so hazy that it was no longer possible to distinguish between the two. One unsettling fact persisted as the dust settled. The passing of King Von was not merely a historical tragedy. The wound was open, a tale without a definitive conclusion. Millions of admirers couldn't stop watching this drama, which continued to write itself in the streets, the studios, and on their televisions. And Lulim's faltering words kept reverberating somewhere in that confusion. I was positioned. Who benefited the most, you ask? The narrative: we are left in a precarious position after the inclusion of Lil Tim. Asian Doll, King Von, Lil Durk, and everyone else in this story. There has never been such division among fans. The Fresh Proof has some people swearing. Some claim it's just smoke and mirrors to distort the facts, while others claim it proves Von was misled. Feelings were running high. Arguments erupted both in person and online, and the answers are still unclear. Was it a setup, self-defense, or something more complex that was planned by forces? Can't we see? The family is split up. The fans are left to piece together a jigsaw that might never be finished while the buddies stay silent. Von's name is still more recognizable than ever, though. His memory returns to the forefront with each new development. His tale continues with each new allegation. The significance of this new data is indisputable, regardless of its veracity. It's your turn now. The rap community are still debating, arguing, and trying to find the truth. What do you think? Was Lulim lying to protect his reputation? Or do you believe he was telling the truth about being set up? Is this another instance of internet detectives going too far? Or do you believe that Van's close circle knew more than they claimed? We need your opinions, so please share them in the comments section. Make sure you hit if you nailed this breakdown, that like button at the moment. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button and enable post notifications so you don't miss the next major news. Because believe me, given how this drama is developing, the next turn may grow increasingly larger. You don't want to be the last to find out either.